Our vision for the cathedral is a Christ-centered cathedral impacting generations.
Thank you, Provost. Tell us about the management of the cathedral and how it's done on a daily basis.
Management refers to the administrative, the financial, the human resource, and the spiritual. Therefore, I have 4 people who report to me directly. That is the assistant provost, who is in charge of all the ministries, matter spiritual, that is the assistant provost. The second one is financial. I have the finance manager who takes care of our finances, and she is the accounting officer there. And she informs me in matters of budgets. Where are we? What do I need to do? Do I need to raise more money? Because that is my role as a provost. The other one is the administrator. The administrator is the one who manages the facilities, make sure that things are running. And the last one is the human resource. With those people doing their work, it trickles down to every worker. So the system is there. And we normally have bi-weekly meetings with my management, and they are all able to report what is happening and where they need our input as a team. So again, I've been able to break the silos where everybody is working separately. And through our meetings, we are able to listen to one another. So that's the way I have handled administration. And I have been able also to receive feedback, or they have been able to request, this is the area that we need your help, Provost. And I'm able to do that.
Okay, so how have you recruited staff among the cathedral and also the volunteers?
Let me start by saying about 80% of the work that is done here in the cathedral is done by volunteers. And I must say a very big thank you. I wish I can enumerate all of them, but from the music department to the media to the ushering department to people who volunteer, give us their life, their time, and their service. We are truly, truly grateful. But there is a critical part that must be done by staff, because the volunteers can give you so much. So you need to have a critical number of employees that can be able to do certain tasks. Let me start with the staff. Number 1, as a matter of principle, I said there are 2 things I must manage, which are sources of corruption to many leaders. Number 1 is recruitment. Number 2 is procurement. As the provost, I am leaving this office having not recruited a brother, a sister, or somebody because I knew them. In other words, I made sure at the HR there are clear structures on how staff should be hired. And as a provost, I don't have an influence on the way the staff come. Once you're clear on the process and procedure on how staff come to be employed in terms of their qualification and experience, then that removes a lot of problems. Number 2 is to make sure that staff are able to go through their probation and they are able to be evaluated by the time they are being confirmed that due diligence has been done. And as the provost, I sit in the HR committee to make sure that that is done. So I also report to a committee that holds me accountable to see that the clear process has been done. To sustain those staff, they must have their annual targets, which must be evaluated quarterly or half yearly. And at the end of the year, there's appraisals done and filed, discussed with the staff, so that they know, have they been able to achieve their targets and what are their targets going forward. That is very important. And in most of our churches, that one miss. People are just employed, or people are just told, come in. If you employ people that way, you are directly getting into conflict with the law, and the church will lose a lot. So I've been careful on matters of human resource. Where I need to develop a staff, there are resources in the budget, and we can be able to evaluate either it's a short course they should do, either it's a bachelor's degree, and I can tell you many that I found here without bachelor's degrees have gotten their bachelor's degrees. Some have been supported by the cathedral. Others have been given a good environment into which they can be able to develop themselves. That has helped me in management of the staff. In the HR, I'm known as the advocate of the staff. I want them to be paid well. I want the conditions of work to be good and fair and just, and let them be paid well. Let them live good lives. And I've realized once you do that, the staff will trust you, and they will give more than 100% to make sure that the cathedral doesn't suffer. The nature of our work, sometimes we work beyond the 8 hours. I've never had somebody come asking for overtime or anything. They offer themselves and they serve the cathedral with dedication and diligence. But we also prepare our staff in a way that they can grow within the system, but they can also grow out. Cathedral is not too big. So if you're looking to be a provost here, it will take long, it may not even be possible. So I also encourage my staff, be prepared that you can be able to go work elsewhere. And I've seen some transition to become something else. One of the things that we made sure when it came to volunteers was training. But I must say this is not an easy place because many people want to come serve God, but they don't want to have the discipline. They don't want to have the dedication. They can come as and when they want. And at one point I had to draw a line and say, hey, if you are giving services to God, even if they are free, there's a certain quality. So we came up with etiquettes that every volunteer must have. And if you are not able to adhere to those etiquettes and discipline and mannerism, we can be able to tell you, sorry, you cannot continue to serve. And this is, while it's a success, it's a constant challenge for the leader that volunteers continue to hold the highest ethics of their morality, their behavior and conduct. But at the same time, be aware that these are human beings. You need to be a pastor to them. People come here because they are broken. They want to serve God, but they have brokenness. So you have to be a pastor on one hand, but you have also to be strict on the standards so that you don't dilute and then everybody does whatever they want.
Okay, still looking at the staff and the volunteers, how have you been able to build a culture of trust and respect among the staff and the volunteers?
As I had alluded earlier, the open door policy has really helped me because I'm available on phone, I'm available, people can walk to my office, especially my staff. I actually tell my PA I can be interrupted by a staff. Don't wait. If I have people and it's taking too long, you are the PA. Interrupt me. Say, Provost, sorry, I'll interrupt you. Can I have you 5 minutes here? There's a matter I would like you. And that one has really helped me. That I've not been a provost who is just in the office, but I also want to be the provost who is outside here. when it comes to volunteers, I made sure I would visit them, the choir, the ushers. I want to be part of their life. I want to hear what is happening. Sometimes I will do that directly, but also through my own clergy. Because sometimes if you are too available to people, it dilutes everything. It's good that the clergy do their work, and when they need me as a provost, I come in and I'm able to help them. I think that's what has really helped. The environment that we have created here is good for both the workers, but also the volunteers. But conflicts will come. We must get involved. And again, I don't get involved in the nitty-gritty, but I get involved in the big pebbles that require the provost's attention.
So tell us, is there a time that you've handled conflict between a staff and a staff, a volunteer and a volunteer? Would you describe how you were able to manage the situation to get positive outcome?
I think that's my daily job. It's part of my JD. Yes, staff conflict. But this is my mantra when I'm dealing with conflict. If I hear one story, I want to hear the second story. Because human beings are interesting. When they come, you may think they are the angels. Listen to that devil, and you realize they are also not angels, neither are they devils. And after listening to both sides, I'm able to sieve issues that are not important, then you remain with issues that are important, so that you can go to the root cause of the conflict. Is it the environment that has brought this conflict? Is it their personalities? Is it duplication of roles? So constantly, you have to keep checking. Every case is very different. I've dealt with many conflicts within groups of volunteers in the cathedral. That's not an interesting one, because people come with their egos in church. That's not very good. But you know what? That tells you the church is not heaven. It's a place of struggle, and we must constantly serve these people. But people also know me, that I'm also listening and friendly, but I'm also very strong in terms of drawing a line and saying, this cannot happen here. So combining the two, the administrative power, but also loving people, weaving them together without confusing. That way, I've been able to resolve many conflicts.
Okay. What is the one message you can give to one, the incoming provost, and secondly, anyone in management? What is that one piece of advice you'd give?
I wish you asked many. If you say one, it's too little. But let me put it this way. Number one, have the highest integrity. You hold a leadership position. You cannot be faulted. We're not saying you're perfect, but you cannot be meddling in people's affairs. In other words, as a provost, because it's a senior office, it's a father role that takes care of everyone, you must be clear and away from issues of integrity. You cannot be accused when your staff are being accused. Leaders create a culture, both political and spiritual. Leaders can create a strong culture. There's a book that I love by Miles Monroe, and it's called The Spirit of the Leader. In other words, every leader carries a spirit, and it influences people that they live with or work with. So please make sure that your spirit is right with God. Don't be questioned. Don't be corrupt. And I can say this to the people who are listening. I've never taken advantage of my position to enrich myself corruptly. I've never. I have said no to many temptations that have come my way. I have asked the Lord to help me to be faithful to Him. And I can say I'm leaving the cathedral without any corruption that I have done. I haven't. And I've been very, very careful with that. So issues of integrity. Number 2, please follow the policies, the laid down policies and guidelines on matters of recruitment or on matters of procurement. Anything, follow the procedure and don't work alone. Work with other people who can testify about you. Many leaders, unfortunately, don't want to work with people. They circumvent the processes and policies that have been put. Let me put it straight. Policies and systems actually are meant to protect you as the leader. Once they protect you, you can now serve freely. You know, the position of the pastor, and now for this case the provost, is you are the administrator. But the next thing, you are standing in the pulpit preaching. If you don't live a life of integrity here, you cannot be able to preach. Preaching only happens when we are right with God, but also people can see an example in the person preaching. And we are talking about this at a time when the church is being bashed left, right, and center because of what has happened in Malindi and many other places. Leaders must have the highest integrity, follow processes and procedures. They are not meant to curtail you, they are meant actually to protect you. And that's what I have been strict on, following procedure and policies. And that way, I've been protected. I've never been accused of anything. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but God has been gracious. There are many other things that I can say, but I thought those 2 are critical to any leader.
Lastly, Provost, you have emphasized about accountability. How can you say you have been accountable to the congregation and your staff in matters financially and spiritually, in that no one can actually come back and say 1 shilling was lost during your tenure as the provost?
Again, systems and policies are there. I don't work alone. There is a finance manager who is accountable. I have the treasurer who is accountable. I have the FNGPC and the chair of FNGPC oversees that money is being utilized. I am within a system. If you say I've taken 20 million, who signed for it? How did it move from account A to account B? It's impossible. And that's why I said accountability comes when you follow systems. When it comes to the congregation, you see us often coming to the congregation telling them, this is the much we have given, this is the much we have spent. That's why I have done 10 AGMs without a single question. Why? It wasn't about the provost. It was about the team. And many people are involved. The checks and balances are available. And I think that's what makes this cathedral great, that there are checks and balances. And no leader can abuse our systems here. And if they try, they will bring down a good church.